Joining us on the line right now, you know him, you love him, you can't live without him. He is the anchor of Varney and Company on the Fox Business Network. He is the one, the only, Stuart Varney. Stuart, good morning to you.
I love these introductions. That's fabulous.
I work on them quite a bit. Okay, I want to start out with something that has me just seething, and it's this what we're learning about Lois Lerner. Now, she worked over at the IRS, and it's beginning to look as if anybody in the Democratic Party or any Democrat who wanted to find out what was going on with the Republican side of the equation as far as fundraising, that she was the point person. We now know that that she was not only was she doing stuff at the IRS, it now appears that she was coordinating with other agencies, including the Department of Justice, sort of poking them and saying, hey, you need to make an example of these conservative fundraising groups because, they're not doing things right. She was an incredible bad actor, but it doesn't seem as if anything is going to be done about it.
Exactly. Nothing's going to be, well, I don't know this, but it looks like nothing's going to be done about it. I've read the Judicial Watch emails that they acquired. Judicial Watch acquired these emails. I've read them. And Lois Lerner goes way beyond just targeting conservative groups. She wanted to prosecute them. She was in touch with the Department of Justice about prosecution. I'm going to read directly from one of those emails. She writes, this is on May the 8th of last year, Lois Lerner writes this: the idea that the Department of Justice could piece together false statement cases about applicants who, quote, lied to get a tax-exempt status. She's promoting the idea, go after them, lie about them. That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
And now it's out there in the open. Surely this is grounds for a criminal investigation, and it requires Eric Holder, Attorney General, to do that, and I don't think he's going to do it.
Well, but the president...
That's a good one.
The president told us all there's not a smidgen of corruption going on over there. Not a smidgen. I don't think he knows what that word means. Stuart Varney, of course, anchor of Varney and Company on the Fox Business Network. You don't know this about me. I'm a native of Detroit, Michigan. And so, of course, you have waxed poetic right here on WMAL and on Fox Business Network that the fall of the city of Detroit, the crumbling of that city and the bankruptcy is a perfect example and allegory of progressive politics and unions just run amok and what ends up happening. And, the White House has been saying for the last year after the bankruptcy was declared, whenever asked, are you planning on bailing out the city, they've been very vague about what their plans are. Well, now it looks like they're moving toward a bailout, are they not?
That is correct. It is a backdoor bailout. They won't call it a bailout, but that's exactly what it is. They're diverting money, which is supposed to go to the state of Michigan for blight removal. They're diverting that to the retirees from Detroit so that they can back up their pension plan.
Wait, union retirees, let's be clear here.
Precisely.
If you worked in the private sector, you're out of luck.
Precisely. Now, they want to divert, as opposed to using the word bailout, they want to divert $100 million on top of the $350 million they've already diverted from the blight removal fund. It's a backdoor way of doing it. If the president went to Congress and said, give me money to bail out Detroit, he'd get a big fat no.
Yeah.
But if he reallocates money that's already been allocated for something else, that, in effect, is a bailout or a partial bailout. It sets the stage for a much bigger bailout later, but a bailout is exactly what it is.
By the way, I should correct what I said when I said if you worked in the private sector, you're out of luck. Obviously, I meant if you were in a non-union shop, you're out of luck. And by the way, I know a lot of people in the automotive industry there, and a lot of the big economy there in Michigan is not just making cars, but it's the secondary outlets that make the parts for cars, and they are often non-union shops. They get nothing.
They got nothing. When you look at this Detroit bankruptcy, it looks like the unionized retirees, former city workers now retired in unions, looks like they will get their money. They'll get a tiny, tiny haircut. But the banks who lent Detroit money and the bondholders who lent Detroit money and about 90,000 other creditors, they're going to get a huge haircut. So the unions get the money, the bankers, the investment people, and other creditors, they do not. It's a highly politicized bailout, and that's what it is.
All right, I want to talk, and I always get into this very delicately because I know that when you invest for the long term. but one cannot help but notice on the short term that the market has been like a roller coaster of late. Up 200, down 200. What is going on with this market?
There is a hint that yet again we will be disappointed about the American economy in the forthcoming year. In each of the last 4 years, you get to springtime or late winter, and everybody says, this is the year. This is the year of the breakout. We're going to get to 3 or 4% growth. In each of the last 4 years, we've been chronically disappointed. Looks like the same thing will happen all over again today. So you've got the market selling off on signs of weakness, and then going back up again when the Federal Reserve says, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, we'll keep interest rates at zero for a long time to come. That's what's going on. That's the roller coaster.
Can I circle back to Detroit one more? Because it just occurred to me as I was reflecting on your brilliant answer, Stuart Varney, that when you say it's all these municipal employees will get their pensions and all these union members will get their pensions, I think objectively speaking, you can look at the last 30 years in Detroit, Michigan, and you can acknowledge that a combination of corrupt politicians, who, by the way, were funded, financed, and put into office by those very same unions, they then gave sweetheart deals, sweetheart contracts, and sweetheart pensions to those unions. That's what contributed to the bankruptcy in the first place, and there are no repercussions to those who have actually caused the problem.
You are precisely right. Detroit was looted by its own government and its own unions. That's pretty much what happened. There were other factors, of course there were, but the bottom line is it was looted, and nobody is going to do anything about it, and those people, the unions who did the looting, are going to get their money.
Well, listen, we're in the Beltway here. Let's bring it back to politics. Can the president really do that and divert those funds? If the Congress said this is for urban blight and now he's just taking it, can Congress say, no. This money is meant for one thing and one thing only?
Actually, this is a brilliant political move by the president, because to reallocate that $100 million from blight removal to pension payoff in Detroit, to do that, it's Republican Governor Rick Snyder who's got to okay it. Now, if he says, no, you can't have it, then Obama will say, you rotten, mean-spirited Republican, you're denying those retirees their money.
God.
But
of course
he says
he will.
Yes, then he's a Republican and he's going for a bailout. I mean, that's a pretty smart political move by the Obama administration, but of course it puts America on the back foot going backwards.
Thank you,
Stuart Varney, always a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.